Before becoming famous, Benedict Cumberbatch taught English to monks in Tibet. Before becoming famous, Benedict Cumberbatch studied acting for almost 10 years. Before becoming famous, Benedict Cumberbatch traveled around the world. A brilliant actor, a philanthropist, a real-life descendant of the real king of Great Britain, and a man with a last name that is hardly possible to pronounce correctly. Benedict Cumberbatch. Who is he? And what was his way to Olympus? Let's find out.
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying this film.
We'll begin the story of Benedict Cumberbatch not with his childhood or turbulent youth. No, we will go all the way back to 1452, because it was then that the King of England, Richard III, was born. You may ask, what does Richard III have to do with it? And I will say that it is from King Richard III that he takes his family tree, which has not been interrupted all these centuries, and led to the birth of the actor Benedict Cumberbatch. Yes, our beloved Sherlock Holmes is a true royal descendant of blue blood. During all these centuries, his family had a lot of really outstanding people. Cumberbatch's great-great-grandfather was a British consul in the Russian Empire. His great-grandfather was a consul in Romania, Turkey, and Lebanon, and his grandfather was a submarine commander in the British Navy. The Cumberbatch family is really great and can be proud of, so Benedict had no right to embarrass it, which he didn't. Only he replaced diplomacy and military service with acting. It makes sense because his parents, also actors, Timothy Carlton and Wanda Ventham, are quite successful cultural figures of Great Britain. Since Benedict's early years, he has been sent to various drama classes, taken the theater performances, introduced to British cultural figures. In short, Cumberbatch had no chance to become anything other than an actor. In general, it seems that there should not be anything interesting in this story. A decent boy from a rich family, who was taught manners and led from childhood on the career ladder, studied in prestigious British schools to become a movie superstar, and a knight of various British royal awards. A kind of successful business project. But in reality, Benedict Cumberbatch's story is much more complicated. Because as soon as our boy of royal blood finished his prestigious school, he immediately changed his life radically. Benedict ended up altering his comfortable life to the seats of airplanes and trains. He set off on a trip around the world. In order to fully grow as a person, he had to go through not only the school of peers, but also the school of life. Benedict took with him the minimum amount of money and other resources necessary for the trip, and visited many countries around the world. He especially liked it in Asian countries, and it was in the mountains of Tibet that the actor from high society got to know real life, the one outside the comfort of London. The guy stayed in Tibet for a whole year, got a job as an English teacher for local monks. It was his first full-time job. Time in Tibet helped Cumberbatch grow as a personality, and a year later, a completely different Benedict returned to London, confident in what he has to do and purposeful. This trace is very clearly visible in the character of the already adult Benedict. For example, his profiles simply do not exist in social networks.
I can't get involved with social media because, as they know, it would be a disaster. I can't tweet to save my life. I go over my character limits and never make any sense.
The actor considers them to be time killers, and a phenomenon that decomposes the personality. In addition, he just found the love of his life, the director Sophie Hunter, and he is not going to cheat on her, as well as not get into any scandals. He is for traditional relationships, and believes that a woman should not expose her body to everyone. The wife agrees with this, and the relationship is idle. Money scandals don't bother him either. He openly declares that he suffers from extravagance and can spend a lot of money to jump with a parachute, order a charter, buy a new house for fun, or some expensive decoration. He can afford it, so why not? This is who he became in the future, and he admits that it was Tibet that was one of the main factors in the formation of his personality. After returning from the trip, the boy very quickly entered the University of Manchester, where he studied theater arts for the next 4 years. He did not rush to quick fame, did not try to immediately conquer Hollywood. He was no adventurer. He was a British aristocrat and lived up to that status in demeanor, career, and character. After graduating from the University of Manchester, Benedict Cumberbatch continued to improve his acting skills. he entered the oldest and most prestigious theater school in Great Britain, the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. He studied and studied and studied, until the moment he brought his skill to incomparable heights. The teachers admired Benedict's work capacity and moral qualities, and predicted world recognition for him. However, our British snob, as usual, was not in a hurry. He was doing his work, receiving excellent criticism, and growing gradually. In 2001, after graduating from the London Academy, Benedict Cumberbatch almost immediately became an actor of the first plan in the largest theaters of England, the Open Air Theatre in Regent's Park, the Royal Court, and even the Royal National Theatre. There were no roles that Benedict was not trusted with and that he could not handle. The skill was honed. He was also very memorable to the audience. They especially remembered the actor's red hair, which often made him stand out from the crowd. Yes, it will come as a surprise to many, but the natural color of Cumberbatch's hair is red. And for almost all of his main roles, from Sherlock Holmes to Doctor Strange, Benedict was forced to have his hair dyed brunette or brown. The fact that Benedict had such a complicated last name that only he himself could pronounce it without a hitch the first time did not interfere as well. The mother convinced her son to give up this family name, and to do as his father did, to keep one of the surnames, for example, Carlton. The guy himself thought that the surname was similar to the sounds of, farts, but he still kept his family status for himself. Anyhow, neither red hair nor a complicated surname had any effect on the career.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Such a prominent actor did not go unnoticed on the radar of film producers. Therefore, at the same time as receiving theater awards and performing in plays, Benedict almost immediately began acting in movies. And, again, he built his career very wisely. In 2002, 5 films and series with Cumberbatch were released at once, where the actor played secondary roles. He did not go after the main roles right away. The main roles themselves came for him. The first of these was the role of Stephen Hawking in the biopic about the outstanding scientist, and it immediately became very successful in Britain, bringing Cumberbatch the first widespread popularity, the first award of the television festival in Monte Carlo, and the first BAFTA award. Just think of Cumberbatch's talent, the first leading role and immediate recognition. At the same time, it was the role of a scientist struggling with paralysis and losing control over his body, the role of a scientist with a complex fate and an equally complex character. And Cumberbatch did a marvelous job. The education he received allowed him to perform any task on stage. It turned out that he was very, very good at playing legendary celebrities of the past or really brilliant characters. These roles could be a real test for anyone in Hollywood. However, Benedict dealt with them perfectly. Think for yourself. Hawking, Sherlock Holmes, Van Gogh, Doctor Strange, Alan Turing, Patrick Melrose, Julian Assange. All are fictional or real geniuses, the roles of which the aristocrat Cumberbatch took like a duck to water. And 2010 was a turning point. At first, the picture, Van Gogh, painted with words, made a splash, where Cumberbatch played the legendary artist. And he did a great job with another reincarnation. And then, Benedict landed the job of a lifetime. He passed the casting for the main role in the series, Sherlock.
The name's Sherlock Holmes and the address is 221B Baker Street.
Another remake of the adventures of the legendary Sherlock Holmes, the detective who was once invented by the writer Arthur Conan Doyle and whose character has become iconic in world culture. It would seem that there have already been so many films and series about Sherlock Holmes. Who has not acted in them? What plots were not taken from the original books? What stories were not invented from scratch? However, the new vision of Sherlock Holmes from screenwriter Mark Gatiss was something phenomenal. The viewer was not immersed in the atmosphere of London of the last century. No, the viewer was offered a new, young, expressive, eccentric, however, still brilliant Sherlock. And all this in the modern world of the 21st century, with all the technologies, the internet, mobile phones, social networks, computers, cars, weapons, with modern society. At the same time, the genius of Holmes his deductive method, sociopathy, obsessive-compulsive syndrome, his charm and attractiveness. All this remained with the character in full. The heroes of the legendary books of the past came to life in a new world, in new conditions, and it was incredible. The series was perfected in everything: plot, soundtrack, visuals. But the key role, as always, was played by the actors. And Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock Holmes was unsurpassed. He was exactly what a modern Sherlock should be. He did his job perfectly. His partner on the set, actor Martin Freeman, perfectly adapted to the role of Sherlock's only friend, Dr. Watson. And the main thief, Moriarty, performed by Andrew Scott, perfectly complemented the main character, and was memorable at first glance. The symbiosis of the actors, directors, and screenwriters turned out to be so beautiful that the series was destined to success. Each episode is like a separate movie. Each story is completed, and at the same time, connected by a general plot. Sherlock from the BBC broke all records of popularity and collections. The British actor with the name Benedict and a very difficult surname woke up famous. It happened. A career that was moving towards Olympus finally began to shine on the whole world. Benedict Cumberbatch became famous. Now our British royal blood is a Hollywood star with incredible fees, colossal opportunities, and sky-high prospects. What awaits him next? Oscar? A few Oscars? Walk of Fame? He received the order from the hands of Elizabeth II, the late Queen of Great Britain. And then, only more and more. This is the unique story of Benedict Cumberbatch before he got famous. Just as incredible as many of the other actors we feature on before they got famous. So, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our future videos. And see you soon.